Once again, I'm torn. I'm torn on the movie this time. Uh, there are things very wrong with it, but there are also some good things in it. And I just can't seem to decide on a rating for this one. So, but hopefully I'll figure out what I want to rate it by the end of the video. So, what's the story? Uh this ancient tribe does some kind of ritual to appease the spirit of the phoenix. Um and uh uh there's a bunch of bad people who come and kill the whole tribe. It's really confusing. I don't understand what the hell's going on in that opening scene. Uh, but basically, one member of the tribe survives the ordeal, and she ends up traveling to a fairy tale to ask them for their help. She doesn't remember she doesn't remember who she is. She just knows where she has to go. She knows where she has to get to. Um, and actually, she doesn't even ask for their help. They're just kind of like, "Hey, we're coming along with you. We're gonna help you out." Um, and and as they learn more about her, who she is, and how she survived, uh, a new threat is starting to reveal itself. Um, a kingdom that celebrates the phoenix is planning on reviving him, so that the phoenix can bestow immortality to um, the prince, and he's hired these mercenaries essentially to pretty much take out anyone who would threaten his rule. Uh, and yeah, so yeah, it's that's basically just the main story, trying to stop the phoenix from reviving. If it does revive, they need to find a way to beat it, and they need to find a way to defeat this entire country. And it's just there's just there's a lot of stuff going on in this film, almost to the point where it's kind of hard to keep up with it. And that can be a good thing in some films, but not in this one. Not in this one. I feel there's too much going on at once. And that's saying a lot, considering the basic plot itself is just stop the bad guy, get the girl where she needs to be, the end. That's the basic plot. But they have so much shit going into this, so much shit that gets thrown at you. It's hard to keep up with it and hard to understand some of this shit. Um, and on top of that, the girl is so unlikable. I hate that bitch. I really do. I didn't. I did not care at the end with how her story ends. And yes, yeah, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go into spoilers. She dies. She dies. And I was not sad in the least. I was not sad for her. I was not sad for Lucy. I was not sad for anybody. I was completely fine with her dying because she was a bitch throughout the film. Like she was never grateful for anything that any of these characters were doing. Yeah, towards the end she decides, "Oh, now I'm going to befriend Lucy even though I'm going to die here in just 10 minutes." Yeah, now you're gonna try to be friends with someone. Now that you know you're doomed. Now that you know for a fact that you are doomed, that's when you're gonna try to be friends with her? Just so you can cause her more pain when you do die? Yeah. Good job! Good job, bitch! I don't like her. I hate her. She is the major down point of the film. Uh, Now, and also another down point is it is impossible to tell when this takes place. Like, if this is supposed to be a story that Hiro Mashima himself wrote, which I'm not sure if it is, that's just what I've heard. Um, I haven't done my research on it yet, but from what I've heard, Hiro Mashima wrote the script. So this is supposed to be canon, I think. So where does it fit in the timeline? Because based on uh based on the looks of a lot of the characters, I'm thinking it happens before the Grand Magic Games. Just before the Grand Magic Games. But then again, with Urza's look is the same that she got just before the Grand Magic Games started. And same thing with Buffman, or Steroid, or Captain Steroids, as I sometimes like to call him, because that's what he is now. He's Captain Steroids. Uh, um, and yeah, with the two of them, they look like how they look in the Grand Magic Games, making me think, okay, so maybe it happens after the Grand Magic Games. But wait, Loxus doesn't have his, his coat hanging over him, or he doesn't have his coat hanging over him or anything. That was his look in the Grand Magic Games. He doesn't have that in the film. He just has a regular shirt. He just has kind of a regular shirt, which is essentially the type of clothes he wore back before the time skip. So, where does this fit? Like, most of the characters look like how they're supposed to look just before the Grand Magic Games. But Elfman and Urza, they look like how they look during the Grand Magic Games and after. There is no way for me to figure out where this takes place. Also, not to mention that Flair ends up stalking Lucy after the events of the Grand Magic Games, which leads up to the events of the Sun Village arc. And we never see her in the background. So if this is supposed to take place after the Grand Magic Games, we would see her in the background in at least one frame. In one frame, she would just show up in the background, but she never does. She's not there. So when does this take place? I'm going to assume that it takes place just before the Grand Magic Games. That's just what I'm going to. That's just what I'm going to assume. And yeah. So, whatever. So so there's that. But what's good about this film? What's good about this film? Well, for one, this was the first time that Natsu was not annoying. Happy was less annoying because thank God they gave him very few lines. So he wasn't that annoying. Natsu wasn't annoying in this film, which I'm happy about. And the animation and the music. This is where I'm conflicted, because the movie does have problems, but the animation and the music are so good and so fluent that honestly, it's hard for me to give it a bad rating because those two qualities are just so damn good. The animation and the music in this film is in a class on its own. Like, it far exceeds anything else I've seen or heard in any of in the rest of the series. And just so you know, I'm actually watching this after I watched the Tartarus arc. This and the OVAs, I watched all this after the Tartarus arc. So this is the last video I'm making before my final impressions video. This right here. And yeah, this is the best looking thing to ever come out of the series. The animation in Fairy Tail has always been hit or miss. Some episodes will look stellar, other episodes will look like total shit. There was a ton of problems with that in Grand Magic Games. It was very apparent which episodes they actually put effort in and which episodes they didn't. It was very apparent throughout that arc. But this one just looks amazing from start to finish. I enjoyed looking at these images, and the fights were so fluent and fast, and they were so energized, and I'm like, yes, why can't the rest of the series be like this movie? Have animation and music and fight scenes like this, and the series would be a million times better than it is. Sure, it'd still have a bunch of plot holes. Sure, it'd still have a bunch of plot holes and things that don't make any fucking sense, no matter how you spin it. But it would at least be a stupid kind of entertaining. And yeah, so I'm torn. I'm torn. The animation and the music and the fights, those were all good. But plot holes and the main girl, they just, and the complex story, that also fits into this, and it just, yeah, it just makes it hard for me to come up with a good rating for it. I'm gonna give it 2 ratings. As a standalone movie, without watching anything else of Fairy Tail, people could probably still enjoy this. I don't think you really need to know anything about Fairy Tail to really enjoy this film. So I'll for a standalone film, I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8. For a Fairy Tail movie, the bad stuff weighs it down. So the bad stuff weighs it down, so I'm gonna give it a 6. So for a Fairy Tail movie, you got a 6 out of 10. For a standalone film, you got 8 out of 10. So there you go. 2 ratings. You can take whichever one you like. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Next video is going to be the Tartarus arc. And yeah, so I will see you guys then. Take care, everyone.